What's up, everyone? Welcome to 40 Ounce Hip Hop again. This week, we are finally cracking the motherfucking top 10. Like, it's a special time.
Yes, sir.
And I think the time's especially a little extra special, you know, because now we have a top 10 featured guest.
Already in our top one.
Already in my top. Wow. It's like, this is game changing. We had to break out the special shit for y'all. And I think I'm going to let our guest introduce himself a little bit.
Hey guys. But yeah, it's an honor to be on the show. I've really been a fan of just like fake
Is this a dream come true?
This is like so. This is kind of weird.
You don't have to lie. He's like, tell us the picks you don't fuck with.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we've heard the rumors that you have some gripes.
Yeah, so don't get phony on here.
Okay, just a little bit though. But I like the list so far, but I just do have some gripes with like the lower like levels of it.
Yeah.
So my personal take is I don't think that Days Before Radio should be on there.
Okay.
And instead it should be replaced with a rodeo itself.
I'd imagine a lot of people feel that sentiment.
Yeah. Only because I think that like Days Before Radio, it's a little bit rough around the edges, even though it does have some really good songs like Outside and like there's a few others on there, but it's just I feel as though that Rodeo itself had a lot more to offer in terms of impact and in terms of just like, you know, straight hits. It kind of had like 90210, Don't Pray for Love.
It had higher highs, I think, is what Kyle and I kind of agreed on.
Yeah. Like Days Before Rodeo, you kind of like argue like, okay, it's a little bit more consistent because it's his first, you know, take at all of this. So he kind of sounds a little bit more just consistent. He's trying to find his own sound. He's trying to see what sticks to the wall. Mm-hmm. But I feel like with Rodeo itself, it's a lot more, I don't know, it just has a lot more like grand production and other things that makes like
that grand
more
hustle,
of a lasting impact in your mind and stuff.
Yeah, that grand hustle and good music money really came through on that project.
Oh,
yeah, that was that push.
But yeah, Kids See Ghosts though.
You don't think it should be in the top 20?
Oh no, I think it should be on the top 20, but I think that should be just a little bit higher.
Higher. Okay.
Because Kids See Ghosts is one of those only albums that like I've listened to that has literally every single song I enjoy to a really large extent. Mm-hmm. So I say even despite its short length, it had a very big impact on me personally.
Yeah.
But not only that, I feel like just that was the best of both Kanye and Cudi, like collaboration wise. So, and you can already know that they have like really good collabs.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was rare for him, Cudi and Ye chemistry.
And especially after like Cudi coming from Speeding Bullet to Heaven and stuff,
and
like not long afterwards. Yeah, because like he did have what was
Patch Pain,
Patch Pain and Demon Slayer, which that was a good album. So it had a few hit or misses here and there, but I think like Baptized in Fire and Advance / Fly at First Sight, really good songs, stuff like that. And of course there's others on there, but I feel like that was a really, really good high for both of them because Ye coming off the coattails of Ye, the self-titled album. And then, you know, Cudi's trying to get back on his feet because Speeding Bullet to Heaven was kind of shit.
Yeah, that was definitely a, as we said on like before, it was most people kind of agree that was a musical low.
Yes.
And also, even I just seen a tweet actually the other day from Cudi.
Yeah,
talking about
it to me,
talking about how Speeding Bullet to Heaven was literally a cry out for help, and like it's like, well, you know, it's gonna, I can see how you're saying like it's gonna take more than one album to kind of bounce back from that.
Yeah, I guess ultimately, when Kyle and I were making the list, on our personal list, we both had Kids See Ghosts in our top 20s.
Right. Yeah.
But how high up can we put an album that's only 7 tracks? I guess is what it came down to for us.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
because even like our honorable mentions, we had like Daytona on there. We're like, dang, this is a really great project, but it's another 7-track project.
Yeah.
Compared to, and both of them are pretty relatively new, which is another kind of controversial pick, but you know.
Yeah, but I think that despite it only being 7 tracks, though, I would put Kids See Ghosts. Like, if I had to choose between Kids See Ghosts and Daytona, I would definitely put Kids See Ghosts on the list first before I would ever put Daytona. Even though Daytona was still really good. But I feel like just impact-wise...
And the fact that it finally happened is kind of like a monumental...
Yeah, wherever this album was being talked about for years. Like, oh, he's going to have a collab album with Cudi.
Yeah.
Finally comes out. It's only 7 songs, but every single one of those songs has a great amount of artistic merit to it. Stuff. So it's not, leaving anything really to be desired. It's like, oh, wow. Like, every song kind of goes into a really good... just like flow and rhythm in each one. So, and I will say one thing: Kids See Ghosts was probably within that year. I came out in 2018, right?
Yeah, a lot of good albums that year.
Yeah, but that was probably one of the best albums of that summer. Just to say that. Plus, another thing just to mention was it was a series with Kanye's like production value.
Yeah,
so, like he did start off with Daytona, then Ye. Then going to Kids See Ghosts, then Tiana Taylor's album, and then finally with Nasir. Or actually,
wasn't
which
yeah,
you forget about.
Yeah,
But.
Nas. such great beats on there.
Yeah. But I feel like that was like kind of the apex of that kind of like series and stuff because even though I like Ye and whatnot, and Daytona was really good, I would say like if I had to rank any of them, Kids See Ghosts would be the top one.
No doubt.
Let's see. So Taboo. I actually agree exactly where it's placed at. I actually don't have a gripe with that one.
Appreciated.
It was actually my only problem with Taboo was that I feel like the middle part was a little bit harder to like remember with certain things because I really remember like because they went by like colors of just like okay
light gray
black and stuff, but I still feel like black was definitely like the highest point of that album because I like Vengeance, it had Black Metal Terrorists, Perks, other stuff like that. That's a really strong 4 right there. But then the first 4 with like Sumo, Cloud Cobain, and I forgot the other.
That was the middle 4.
That was the middle 4?
Yeah, because
I think so.
Cloud Cobain was in the middle. That was in gray.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
And then the first 4 was like
Cash Maniac,
and the song Taboo.
Yeah. Black Balloons.
Yeah, Black Balloons.
The one.
So that was light. Section.
No, you're right. Yeah, it was Taboo. Then I actually really like Taboo as an opening track. Like,
yeah, it was really good.
One was the best. But Black Balloons, Sumo, then Cash Maniac, which I thought all those were really good. But I just feel like the middle part, other than Cloud Cobain, was a little bit to be left desired stuff, just personally, because I just don't really remember.
It didn't vibe with you as much.
Yeah, it just didn't really stick to me as like heavily as definitely like the black section, because like the Blackest Balloon, Perks, Vengeance, and then Black Metal Terrorists. Those 4 songs, they just flow into each other so well, especially like the ending of Vengeance, wherever it goes
into
like
Black Metal.
Yeah, like I'm gonna catch you in the moonlight, and then it goes directly into Black Metal Terrorists.
Yeah.
That was fantastic, and I thought that was a really, really high point of this album, but not only his album, but also kind of his career during this time, because he also then followed it up with, what's the next song, Zoo, stuff, which I thought that was really good as well. But I feel like Taboo was a good follow up after Imperial as well. So
natural evolution.
Yeah, so I agree with Taboo being at number 15. Injury Reserve, though, I feel like that should be a little bit higher.
Wow.
A little bit higher.
Are there any that aren't on the list that you can assume aren't in the top 10 that you're like, how did that not make your top 20?
See, that's such a really good question, but like...
Because that leaves endless possibilities, right?
Yeah. And I think I'll come back to it just a little bit later.
Yeah.
During this podcast, but I feel like for the most part, this would be a lot of the choices that I would pick. It would just be at different orders.
Gotcha.
If that makes any sense. So I know that we're not really talking about the the top half of the list, but I would just reorder a few things there personally. But yeah, just like
reorders stuff.
Yeah, but I just think that like just certain things on like the bottom half, like Man on the Moon, I personally wouldn't even put on top 20.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah,
because as much as I liked it, so I didn't.
Yeah, we had so many contenders for the 20th spot.
Yeah,
bro.
because I would actually put at the 20th spot. In place of that, I would actually put Take Care.
Okay. Yeah, we were thinking Take Care, 1999, Telephone by No Name. Those were probably the top 3 choices we had.
Wow, I just realized that Telephone was on there.
It was tough.
Yeah, Telephone was a high one. Igor, 444.
Yeah.
Or Igor /
Even
444.
Daytona was
a
even possibility.
then,
I think I had it on my personal top 20.
Yeah. I think Igor being placed on there, I can definitely see that. But I could also see it not being on there because it is kind of a fusion album of like pop and rap. So I kind of see that one. I can understand that one not being on there, as good as an album as it was. But Telephone, I would say that should have deserved, like, say, like a number 19 spot or something like that. Like, if I had to reorder 19,
you dare take off Travis Scott,
yeah.
the artist of this voice and the language of the gods.
I know that you go sicko mode, but it just wasn't enough for me, honestly.
Gotcha.
But I'll put
you're a disinvite. You are leave Astro World immediately.
Yeah.
You bum.
You come on our podcast and give these shitty opinions. What are you doing?
You're no longer the top 10 guest.
Yeah.
Well. But yeah, though it's just I would just reorder just a few things and stuff. But I think Run the Jewels 3, which you guys did last time. I think that was definitely deserving of its number 11 spot. I would say like number 11, at most maybe 9 or so. And it could be interchangeable because like just going through the Run Jewels like discography recently, I feel as though like, you could have put any of the albums right there because each of them are very, very consistent with their quality.
For sure.
And especially with, like the ending tracks on each of them.
Yeah, that was bangers.
Yeah. I feel like Run the Jewels 3 being there, or really you could put 2. Or 1 would be a little bit debatable, but I feel like you can still put it on there easily because just its impact and how like I just remember just like Adult Swim bumps just like featuring like
Thursday, literally
stuff like this kind of stuff like that. You can kind of argue for its impact over Run the Jewel, like against Run the Jewels 2 and 3's like quality stuff. So.
Which is funny because talking about impact with like I guess impact is a big topic for today, and also one of the biggest impacts for Run the Jewels is like it was 2 older rappers kind of getting a new second win in the game, and like for our number 10 spot in our list right now is XXX by Danny Brown, which is XXX 30. Either way, it's an older rapper hopping into the game, making his real stamp on the game, but in such a way that's kind of like, wow, this is something pretty unforgettable and interesting to see, even as he was named Artist of the Year by a few publications. I think once we go into today, you're gonna realize, oh yes, this project was definitely worthy of that, worthy of giving him the credit for that designation.
He just Danny Brown just really blew up so much after that album came out, and like you said, the XXX is for the Roman numeral 30, but also XXX meaning like explicit content or whatever. But it's like LP and Killer Mike, they were already known when Run the Jewels came out, or when Pusha T came out with Daytona, or Jay-Z 444. Like, they're obviously Jay-Z, but super popular. But like the hybrid, I didn't know what the hybrid was, the mixtape Danny Brown put out the year before. Like, it got good reviews, I saw, but I didn't know who Danny Brown was until this came out in 2011. I don't think really anyone, or most people didn't really know until then either. And then you find out the album's called XXX because he turned 30 that year, and it's like that he's just now getting famous, and he's already 30 years old. It's a milestone year, but we just now finding out about him.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that I wasn't actually introduced to Triple X until around 2015 because I was only 14 at the time, so I was a bit young. But
young one.
Yeah, but
Young blood.
It wasn't inappropriate for you to be listening to that type of music at the time.
Yeah.
Especially I Will.
Yeah, I will. But I think that the impact that Triple X has had on even just rappers that kind of like took a little bit after Danny Brown, I kind of think of like a JPEG Mafia or something.
Definitely.
Like along those lines, because he worked with them later, obviously, with I forgot the name of that album. It's just his latest.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
On Negro Spiritual, I think.
Yeah, on Negro Spiritual. So,
yeah.
Yeah, so you see like the influence there, but I feel as though that he kind of brought back that type of harder rap along with like Run the Jewels during that time. I feel that Triple X was very important in that sense of bringing back very hard, very unfiltered type rapping in that sense. Because there was obviously unfiltered rapping, but it was that type of rapping is a little bit different.
Yeah, man. Not so young. Daniel DeJuan Sewell.
Sewell,
Sewell?
maybe? Yeah,
Sewell. Sorry, Danny Brown, if I'm effing up your name. But he really has a very unique style to this rapping. And like I said, it's very raunchy. It's very unfiltered. But similar to like what we see nowadays with like the Benny the Butchers and Griselda gang. It's like there's still craftsmanship, and like a Freddie Gibbs, there's the craftsmanship behind the rap. Like it could be crass, it could be interesting. Even like a Action Bronson, which they work together.
Yeah.
Like you could have this crass kind of like tongue-in-cheek rap, but it is the craft behind, and the skill and the lyricism is still ever present, and some of the pockets and some of the voice inflections that he has is something that only you could take with experience and someone that was really talented at this rapping game.
Yeah, I think that's why Triple X really made waves like that, is because from a technical standpoint, he really was rapping really well throughout the entire album, and just from a traditional standpoint, it was great rap. But then you add on the extra layer of he's kind of making being a weirdo rapper cool again, I guess, because he's got this weird voice. He's rapping about really inappropriate things always. He's got weird teeth. He's got straight hair.
Yeah.
Once again, I'll emphasize he has a weird voice, because I know that's tough for people to pick up on when they first listen to him.
Yeah, and I think that's a really cool part, like with the weird, like the voice piece, because this is during the time when, around the time of a Young Thug and like a Rich Homie Quan and people like that were on the rise still. So it's interesting. It kind of like normalized him between him and Young Thug. They kind of normalized the different and kind of higher pitched vocal inflections that we see nowadays.
Imagine listening to baby voice Playboy Cardi.
Oh yeah.
And then going back and listening to this album, like you're not gonna think the voice is weird at all, probably, right?
Right. It's like it conditioned us to be like, okay, open our minds to be a little like it. Honestly, Danny Brown, he similar to like JPEG, and JPEG is heavily inspired by ODB. I think Danny Brown is kind of like served as like that ODB type of energy for the underground rap scene, and really just rap scene in general, because he beats his own drum, man. The man, and this album Triple X, just from the first lines, like colder than Christy Fed slaves me to rap like waters to raves, is like AKs with bayonets on my deck, sort of like Squidward and his clarinet. It's like, what the fuck? It's like that is a very, very that's not even tongue cheek. That is very nuanced and very almost MF Doom-esque kind of like references and personalized rap. Like, this is what I like, this is what speaks to me, and this, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. But at the same time, it's like you're gonna respect this. He's like, I'm gonna show you who I am, and you're gonna respect who I am, because I had to even have the balls to even say this in the first place. And I think that is and with his vocal inflection and even his instrumental like choices, is very Triple X song, super triumphant with the electric guitar in the background, but still relatively simple. It's very focused on his voice. So it's like, hey, you're gonna get used to this no matter what. Like, if you're gonna sit with me, you're gonna sit with me. It's iconic, honestly, to start that, especially like 30. He's like, hey, yes, I am 30 years old. You're going to before you even get 30 seconds into my project, you are going to accept these. They're going to accept this wild ass verse, and then you're going to end the fact that yes, this is coming from a 30-year-old man that sounds like he just swallowed like at least half a fucking tank of helium.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's pretty interesting. It was a pretty crazy thing to be introduced to at the time.
Yeah, and the contrast between starting the album with XXX 30 and then ending it with 3030. I mean, obviously the name similarities, obviously you get that part, but just the contrast of the lyrics within it, of how he's starting and introducing it versus how he's ending it, and then it gets a little bit darker, and he starts talking about how frustrated he is, and he's like, man, I've been working at getting famous and I'm already 30. Like in the beginning, he's celebrating that he's 30, but now he's like sad that he's 30 because he realized I'm getting old and I still haven't blown up yet.
Yeah. For the last 10 years, I've been so fucking stressed. It's a very, it's a roller coaster kind of, and it's very real depiction of kind of like, it's a rare depiction too, of like, because we had Run the Jewels on here, and they're already established artists. Like, they already have their careers. They would have been fine, honestly, without ever doing Run the Jewels. But like, Run the Jewels kind of took them to another level with things, and like in this newer decades. But we don't really get to see there's plenty of rappers that are like in their later years, relatively. I say later years, like 30s, are like old, like it's really freaking old. But no, it's just comparatively to the game of hip hop that's usually run by younger people. Yeah, it's all about like the kind of like, power of the youth and rebellious movements. Right. Even though some of our top guys right now that we still consider some of the best, they're like 30 something right now.
Yeah, like you said with Griselda and Freddie Gibbs and those guys.
It's just interesting to hear someone get on and to do this at that time, especially Danny Brown's like. Because Griselda and whatnot, they have the pleasure, gift. I'm trying to find the word.
Luxury?
Yes. They have the luxury of familiarity in how they rap and New York style rap. Oh,
meaning like we've heard people rap like Griselda before.
Yeah.
Whereas Danny Brown, he's coming at you with something you may have not heard before.
Yeah,
exactly.
Something totally different.
It's like they have the luxury of the familiarity aspect. And so when even though they are older but they have a little bit of familiarity, we kind of recognize like, this is something we wanted. Like, it's something it's been missing in the game for a while. Danny is kind of like, yes, to the same degree. It's to the same certain extent, yeah, but at the same time, I haven't heard a song like I Will or like Blunt After Blunt. Like, I can't think of a bar besides Lil Wayne to say something like, ate a bitch pussy till she squirted like a dolphin. Like, it's just like, it's not one of your standout lines in most projects for most people.
Like, you think of like weirder samples on the project, such as like Outer Space, where they use like that really weird, just like 1940 line from like a show that no one really knows about. Stuff like, you kind of think of that. You think of like the weird references, or just like the really obscure and personal references that he talks about on 30, wherever he says, I had me borrow neighbor's power just to plug up a Nintendo.
Yeah,
it's just really personal things like that kind of made you respect Danny just for kind of being himself to a T, because you just had to kind of accept that he was him. So, and he just laid it all on the line, because this can kind of be seen as like his Final Fantasy in a way, of just him giving everything that he's got for a dream that he's kind of tried to like cultivate and to strive for years upon years, yet still has made no success. Because kind of like Michael said, no one really knew about him until XXX. Of course, he had that one mixtape beforehand, or that one project rather. But XXX was really his standout. This is all I got. I'm literally giving you a 20 plus song album. So just right there. So
yeah,
just
like,
laying it all
I'm
out
putting
there.
it all on the line
for this.
and giving everything I got to try to get noticed on this one album.
Yeah.
I mean, what did you think about? I wouldn't really call it a concept album, but the first, I don't know, 12 or so songs up till Admiral is super, I guess, animated in a funny sense about all the drugs and sex, but then starting with DNA and going into Nosebleed, Party All the Time, and so on, it gets dark, right? I mean, it has to be intentional that he split the album up that way, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was kind of to give you the dichotomy of like, hey, I'm still in this game, and I can still be as like lively as like the younger bloods in the rap game right now. I can still party. He's like, I'm gonna die like a rock star. Like I can still be a rock star. But in the second half, it's kind of like I'm old enough to realize, and I'm old enough to experience and be able to reflect honestly, like, yeah, some of the things I've been through have been pretty messed up, and like I could actively talk about and not necessarily project. Yeah, I could project. He could project his experiences in a manner that only someone who's lived through that much of life can do, you know?
Yeah, he knows the dark side of that lifestyle also.
Yeah, he's been, which a lot of people wouldn't even live long enough or be in the game long enough to do so, which makes his experience, and his experience is much different from is something that you see often, but you don't really necessarily hear on this level, especially, and even with, I guess, to this degree of
Passion.
Because
I was just thinking like 30. I can't remember bringing that up.
I said 30 songs like Fields. Like even like one of my favorite lines from the project is like, money talk, only broke people listen. Ain't got a pot to piss in and can't afford to pay attention. It's like, it was a really like, that's a pretty wizened line to say. And something I don't think a lot of people would think about as like a younger. You can't get that from someone who hasn't lived the life that Danny has, especially coming up in Detroit and whatnot, which is interesting as well to hear another Detroit, Michigan artist, because who else do we think about when we think about Detroit?
Eminem, Elzhi, Slum Village,
Big Sean,
Royce the 5'9".
Yeah,
definitely either traditional sounding guys, and then with Big Sean, poppy newer guy.
Yeah, exactly. So hearing this perspective and hearing this, it was like a weird fusion of, because even he has a song, a radio song. He's like, this is my radio. So like, I'm kind of poking fun at the people that going for the more popular route, but he's like, interesting syncretic blend of everything that goes on with Detroit, you know, because he has the lyricism, when he deepens his voice on Bruiser Brigade, is like, we're just talking more of a regular tone. It's interesting to hear him, or on Blunt After Blunt, I feel like it's more like traditional Danny or traditional rapping, but then he'll switch it right back up, you know, like Monopoly, and it's like, he gives us all the aspects.
Yeah,
kind of one would expect from someone.
And even on songs, like in that second half that I was talking about with DNA and the Nosebleeds and Party All the Time, EWNESW, North Side, or whatever the song is, and then Scrap or Die, like he raps all of them in a normal voice instead of the weird voice.
Yeah.
I think that has since like farther on in his career, because what I just kind of remembered was that he was featured on Gorillaz' albums Humans.
Yeah.
And that was more of a personification of like his more, jovial and just
animated.
really animated style on Submission. But then you kind of see on his latest album,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, that he had that, he can still like tap into that very mature type of outlook on everything, because there wasn't really many moments on that other than Best Life, and I kind of think of like Negro Spiritual a little bit, because it's a little bit faster paced, that it didn't really encapsulate that really, really high energy type Danny Brown that we're accustomed to on the first half of Triple X. It was more of the somber, yet not as depressive, because he talked about some pretty real stuff, like on like Nosebleeds and other songs like that on the second half. But it was more just that very somber and very just controlled, immature kind of outlook on everything now, since he is at the time of, you know what I'm saying, he's 40 now. Yeah. So he's kind of lived to the point where it's just like, yeah, at this point I'm a veteran in this game, even though I came in less than a decade ago.
Even though he's been rapping since he was a kid, which I guess also attests to his, for one, his drive, and also like the pain that you hear on like songs like 30 or like on Fields or Scrap or Dies. Like this is coming from a man who's been doing this for literally decades. So it makes sense.
Yeah. You want to get into your 3 favorite tracks, Corey?
I think my 3 favorite are, and it's just, I would start with number 3.
Yeah, you don't have to.
You have to do an order. It's just like, what's your 3 favorite?
Yeah, I would just say, just in general, then I'd say Outer Space, Detroit 187, and then 30.
30
Which
as
30?
an outro 30 or a triple X?
Oh, just like
3-0.
Yeah, just 3-0.
Okay.
So just that regular 30.
Just for some clarification.
Yeah, of course.
Huh. So what was the reason behind the choices, my guy?
Ooh.
I guess explain Detroit 187, because that's probably the least popular one out of the 3 that you listed.
Yeah, okay. So Detroit 187, I just kind of have a funny story with this one. So every single time that I hit shuffle on my phone, I always have like a playlist with just harder raps like this, like including Run the Jewels. But every single time that I hit shuffle, I'll always drive to school, Detroit 187 would literally come up every single time. Like, it'll either be the first pick or it'll be the last pick that comes up right before I get to school. I don't know why I acted like that, but it always just did.
The Danny Brown algorithm was fucking with you.
It was on some other shit. So I think that was just like, just since I heard it so many times and stuff, it's just kind of like a personal, just guilty pleasure of mine. But I can say with Outer Space, I think it's mostly because of that weirder sounding beat that kind of encapsulated that type of sound that I look for in Danny Brown. So you're just really, really just outer space type bars.
Type.
And but with the beat kind of just like switching with the weird just kind of sounds within it, I thought that was really, really interesting because it just kind of like really, really personified how he could just take like a simple just little sample like that and then just turn it into something totally different. So with like the little like dwindling piano, like certain parts of it, and on top of it with his good bars. But then coming to 30, I feel as though that 30 just kind of just told his sort of struggle and laid it out up until that point so well in a really, really hard hitting song. So yeah,
I can feel that, man. So Michael, you trying to go? Or...
Yeah, so I also had Outer Space. That song and Monopoly, those were the 2 no-brainer picks for me. Like, I didn't even have to think about it. Monopoly, at one point, was probably my favorite song at one time, like in 2012-ish. Monopoly was probably my favorite rap song at one point.
I remember talking to you about Monopoly so many times.
Yeah, I mean, just the beat, you know, kind of like what Corey was saying with Outer Space, like the beat really enhances the feeling you get with the track, and just the lyrics in Monopoly are just so absurd, especially with the outro about Cool Ranch Doritos. That's the line everyone remembers.
Yeah.
And then Outer Space, like Corey said, same thing with the beat, but then I feel like every single bar in Outer Space is a quotable. Like it's just, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes and 45 seconds of a song, but damn near every lyric is a quotable, either because it's a dope bar, because you're like, did he just say that? Like, because those are the 2 types of punchlines Danny Brown has on the album. It's either a did he just say that, or it's like a damn, that's a hard hitting line.
Yes, because
in Outer Space, nonstop, every single bar is that. And then the third pick was tough for me because I had so many options, so many candidates for what I could possibly pick as number 3. And I ended up deciding on Fields, which I feel like probably isn't a popular pick. But when I listen to Fields, kind of like what Kyle was saying earlier with when you think Detroit, you think like this gritty griminess. Like you listen to Eminem, Elzhi, or all these guys from Detroit. And with Danny Brown, that's not the first thing you notice. But then on this album, he has those moments where he's not talking about all the drugs and stuff. He's just talking about gritty, grimy Detroit. And with Fields, it makes me think of the scene in 8 Mile where Eminem and his friends, they're in that abandoned house and the house is on fire and they're jumping out from it. That's what Fields reminds me of. He's talking about this dark Detroit neighborhood where you either got houses, you either got fields, or you got abandoned houses. So I picked Fields number 3.
Similar to Michael, Outer Space is kind of just like a no freaking brainer, because Outer Space, like, I still quote that shit to this day. Like, some of the things like penis poems for your vagina monologues is the most ridiculous. You safe havens, I'm West Craven with X cravings. It's just the wordplay in this is so ridiculous. And it's so fun. Even just like, and the way he even leaves off the song, like, it's so nice to meet you. Hope that you're safe. Is like, meet the future
out of space.
Yeah, it's like, what? It's like, damn it, Danny, that was so. It was just the perfect cap off to like this encapsulation of Danny Brown playing around and just like, hey, I could rap my ass off, but I'm gonna do it my way, and you're gonna take all of these lines that either you're gonna I'm bumping Bill Withers swishers on Schwarzenegger. It's like, matter of fact, nah nigga, they on boa constrictors. It's like, what do you mean, Danny Brown?
Or I love the line where he says, you have no clue, like toy stores without board games.
Yes.
Because
yes,
it's
right.
genius.
It's like, he had and I love the freaking I love the source she played soccer. She was real good. I had just having me yelling goal while I was sitting on the dresser. He's like, give that bitch a hat trick, smoking on the cat piss. I'm like, what?
I remember I first hear that lyric and I'm like, surely there's more to that lyric than header sounding like giving head. And then no, it just clearly meant header sounds like giving head.
Yes, it's like, bro, Danny Brown, please calm down. Like, that was just so much to take in, so many quotables. But then my other songs, it was hard to pick because 30 was a 30-30. It was a no-brainer for me.
Okay.
I love that song. I play that to this day. Like, I love the energy behind it. I love the distorted sounding trumpets in the back. It's because, like, similar to 30, it does focus more on his voice. It just kind of like, it has the powerful chords in the back, but it brings attention to it. And instead of like the high pitched, as of course, a jovial sound, it's more. He still has it, but it's a more distressed version of Danny. It is Danny kind of. It sounds like instead of Danny being on top of the hill, he's at the bottom of the hill, like, but clawing his way back up. The way he closes out the project it was just such a strong closing track that he's like, bro, I'm gonna do this or I'm gonna OD. It's like fucking Triple X. It's like that. It left a mark and it was really strong. It was all just one verse. That's all that always stood out to me. One just consistent, continuous verse. No, it was no like part two. No, just going through it.
Yeah, I think that was with 30. I thought it was really interesting that he brought up like the trumpets, because it kind of like it can almost be like symbolism for him, almost like calling his way like through hell and stuff, because he went through hell to even get to this point. And oftentimes, like, you know, in Christianity, like the sound of hell is marked by trumpets. So that's why the really distorted trumpets are so loud and like overbearing, and he had like such emotion in his voice. Maybe that could just be symbolism for that, because for the last 30 years he's been going through hell, you know, depression and everything else like that.
Going to jail.
really bad drug problem, other stuff like that. So it could just be a symbolism for like, it's almost triumphant how he even got to this point in the first place, but now he won't stop and he will just keep on grinding.
Yeah, man. That song, I think you put it perfectly, and that was just such a great cap off to the project. And my third song, had to go with Monopoly.
Yeah, I knew you were
like, I had to go Monopoly because the other song that I had was Pot Blood, because I love Pot Blood. Like, so have the Virgin Mary doing lines in the pickup. It's just another one of those bars like, Danny Brown, what are you talking about? But Monopoly, it's that verse and the whole skit leading into it, like the sample, it just flowed so perfectly. I would never thought of Danny Brown using that, or someone using that to lead off a freaking song, but it was great, honestly. Like, to keep that from a blaxploitation film, and then he's like, oh, the hybrid, and then just going with this total. It's not necessarily the opposite of, I guess it is in the sense mimicking like a blaxploitation, in the sense of just kind of like this man doing what he's rapping about is like the most ridiculous stuff and the most over the top things, but it is still empowering and very like mesmerizing to listen to this day. I was like, yo, Danny, you wrapped your ass off on that one, and the beat is just chaotic, and I love that controlled chaos that he kind of brings to it. Now we gotta get to even weirder. Yeah, I didn't want to say weird. We really are going. We're gonna continue the trend of talking about some more experimental, really off-beat rappers and artists, and go into, instead of XXX, now Exmilitary by Death Grips.
Yeah, also came out in 2011, just like XXX did.
Yeah, man.
Now that I think about it, last episode we had 2 2016 albums. This one we have 2 2011 albums. But yeah, this one came out on April 25th, 2011. Just like XXX was most people's introduction to Danny Brown, Exmilitary was most people's introduction to Death Grips. I know for me and for a lot of people, it was specifically the song and music video to Guillotine.
Yes.
Because you got MC Ride, the main vocalist / rapper from the group. He's just sitting in a car, rapping to this song, but acting like a maniac, and you have like the
fuzz, it's white,
like TV fuzz,
in the background of the car, editing.
And of course, the song. So you're soon to find out every Death Grip song is bizarre, but your first introduction is
usually Guillotine.
This isn't the type of rap I'm used to hearing.
Yeah, man.
And I mean, I don't even think I liked it that much the first time I listened to Guillotine, but Death Grips just has a way of bringing you back in.
Oh, definitely. I think my first introduction to Death Grips wasn't actually through Guillotine; it was through the Money Store, and I remember listening to that whole album all the way through, because I always just remember like the first song, Get Got. But I remember, funny enough, actually hating it the first time. I was like, what did I even just listen to? But then I went back and I checked out like the Guillotine video, and I was like, this is so bizarre to the point that you almost kind of like how Danny Brown, you had to respect his different style. You almost have to respect it because of how different it is. You have to respect like the imagination that takes to even come up with something like this. So I think that Exmilitary, wherever I just like went back into it, it wasn't as crazy as, their later stuff at that time, because it was around 2013, 2014. So it wasn't as crazy as, say, like a No Love Deep Web or
Government Plates was probably when they got. I feel like Government Plates was when they really ventured away from hip hop pretty far.
Yeah,
definitely. Or you can even think of like the Runway series or so, wherever it was mostly just electronic, just beats.
Yeah.
So I think that Exmilitary was really defining for Death Grips, because it was kind of them in their own very, very, very weird way, easing you into what was to come.
It sounds stupid, but you're totally right.
Yeah, it's like if you started off with it's funny because similar to how you said going to listen to a Playboy Cardi baby voice nowadays would be like, oh, that's not even, and going back to listen to Dane Brown, like, oh, this shit's not even weird at all. That's actually kind of hard. It's like doing that with Death Grip's catalog, or a lot of artists' honestly catalog nowadays, where you're like, I mean, I listen to Exmilitary, I can listen to this. It really just kind of set the tone for like, oh, well, this ain't as bad as that. Like, and I say it's bad, but it's like, it's not even as
bad as an out there.
Yeah, like it wasn't as abrasive, like too hard for you to this, oh dang, is this really rap? Is this really the thing? And I think the best way to kind of, they even had it, I guess, said it themselves on this project with the song Culture Shock. This album was the next album, and this song and everything to do with the project and their group as a collective is a culture shock. It really is. It's like, I've never heard anything like it before until then, and Death Grips, they keep on coming up with new sounds that I'd never heard of, and I think they just continue to kind of make airwaves and make waves in the culture.
That's what amazes me, is the fact that this album was so weird, so foreign, and so out there for people when they first heard it. And then, like, little did you know Death Grips was only going to get weirder.
Yeah.
And when you say Exmilitary, it prepared you for weird albums in the future. The first thing that comes to my mind is 2014, Clipping came out with Clipping.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even that weird for me to listen to Clipping the first time, because it's like, well, I listened to Exmilitary, I can listen to Clipping.
Yeah, it's like literally the weirdest thing about Clipping to me was the first song, the intro.
The Body and
Blood.
Yeah. I was kind of like, okay, yeah, the intro and Body and Blood is like, okay, you know, that's kind of hard to listen to with your headphones on high, but everything else is like, this is cool, this is nice, this is dope. He should collaborate with Death Grips. It was just really odd.
I remember watching the Dead End Hip Hop review for this album. Check out their YouTube channel if you don't follow them. But
yeah, man,
of course,
shout out to Dead End Hip Hop.
I don't know what you're doing if you're not following their channel already, but I remember watching the review, not when it came out, but probably like 2012 maybe, once I knew about their channel. And I remember in the review, the older guys like BZ and Ken, like, they were so upset that they had to listen to this album because they're like, this isn't even hip hop. And Mike Seatown on the episode was like, but they identify as hip hop, and like, who's to say that they, like, in your mind you have this boundary of what hip hop can be, and who's to say that they didn't just push that boundary even further? Like, if they identify as hip hop, I don't see the issue as calling them hip hop then.
Yeah, it really is. And I think that's a beautiful way to put it, to be honest with you, because it's, for a band out of Sacramento, California, it's kind of like, for one, I'm sitting thinking like, okay, what the heck is, I don't really know too many Sacramento, California, like, rappers. The white guy who's spoken word, Hobo Johnson, is he counted as a rapper? I guess.
It's like, he's from Sacramento.
But there's, and there are, please someone correct me. Like, oh, bro, you don't know about such and such. I'm like, oh, my bad, bro. Like, please put me on. But to hear a group like this kind of come out of the blue, you know, and to claim to be rap, because they could have said like, oh, we're an alternative band. That's it. They could have done that, and
people would have believed it.
Or we're an electric band, like electronic band. Okay, cool, got you. People would have ate that shit up. But the fact they still kind of, hey, we are hip hop. We're hip hop and rap. Hell, we're industrial hip hop, if you want to call us that. It's like, it kind of put a barrier. It made their image and made people put their barriers up. Like, wait, this is supposed to be the same stuff. Bro, I just listened to Passion, Pain, and Demons. I don't know. I just listened to My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I just listen to
Take Care.
Take Care. That's hip hop. Or like this isn't that. This is kind of pushing it. Like I like a Danny Brown, but I don't know if I like this, you know? And but they really, because I think it was a good thing. Like it was a really great expose of like what could hip hop be, like what really, where does the lines blur? Because hip hop has always been evolving. The sound's always been changing, and I think hip hop is one of the most flexible art forms,
no doubt,
in the world. Like you can literally, pop music nowadays is pretty much piggybacking off the roots of rap and hip hop back in like the early 2000s. Hell, look at K-pop and you're like, oh wow, this is
as other genres pick up off of hip hop, why can't hip hop expand its boundaries?
It's like it's a reciprocating, it's a symbiotic relationship.
There you go.
It's like people gotta realize that when it comes to hip hop, and I think the fact that these guys, if we could praise the Injury Reserve for pushing stuff, which also is funny that we listen to Exmilitary and it's like, oh, Injury Reserve, their sounds are kind of different. It's like we're good. It's like we can handle this after listening to some Death Grips and even more experimental people out there. But I think they kind of set the precedence of like, all right, this is the boundaries. These are, it makes people question like, all right, what do we come for hip hop for? What do we define hip hop as nowadays?
Yeah.
In a growing internet era, because they did come up around in 2010. Because their first song was Full Moon, right?
Yeah.
Classic in 2010.
Well, their first song was, I want to say it was just Net Scripts / like Death Grips and stuff, and then it went to Full Moon Death Classic. Or actually, it was one right before. It was on that same exact EP. It was 3 songs on there, but I knew it was Full Moon Death Classic, then it was Net Scripts, and then I want to say it was, I need to search it up in a little bit, but yeah, it was like they originally came out with that. But I would want to point to something where we're talking about like it being a hybrid type of like, or introducing, I guess, more of a main audience to like, okay, that hip hop can be a combination of so many different things. I think even the chemistry of Death Grips as a group kind of speaks to that, because one thing that a lot of people forget is that Zach Hill had a career before Death Grips was initiated with Face Tat. And actually, I think he had an EP before that, if I'm not mistaken. But you kind of listen to that really, really weird sound. That was, at least for early Death Grips, I feel like that was really just like the basis that it was built upon. And then you have Stephen Burnett or MC Ride kind of building upon that with his own style of very unorthodox rapping over wherever it has to do with like really loud screaming, kind of off-key type beats, wherever it comes with his voice and just his style and his inflection, where it comes with it. So I feel like Death Grips is a perfect example of a group that can blend so many different type of styles on top of one another and somehow make it a very coherent mess in a way. Like it just makes it so just not really as like many elements that it's fusing into one thing. It never really feels cluttered in a way. It always feels very precise in its structure and its sound. So yeah,
I mean, how many hip hop groups consisting of 3 people, like there's none other that's it's one rapper, one drummer, who you said Zach Hill's the drummer, and then one keyboarder, I guess is his title. Flatlander or Andy Morin.
Right.
Like it's keyboards production.
It's just like that alone sets up that the boundaries are going to be pushed for what they are in hip hop.
Yeah, man. It's kind of like, it's like a Jackson Pollock painting. It's just a bunch of shit thrown kind of at the wall, but it sticks and it makes a really good mess. A really nice. It's like it's chaos in a bottle, I feel like, but it's artistic. That's the funny thing. It's like, yes, I don't want to say, you can make of it what you will. Similar to like a Jackson Pollock. It's like, hey, some people are like, bro, this is just mess. This is just people. This is utter chaos. But then others would be like, you know what? This is actually, I see it. I see the point. I feel it. Others would be like, I don't see what you're seeing, but I still like it because of how abrasive the music, how energetic it is. Or I like it because of the dark lyrics. I like it because of the references. I'm like Tachyon is like, I love them because of their tongue-in-cheek lines, like on I Want It, I Need It. It gives you room for interpretation on in a different type of way than most, I guess, rap artists kind of give you, and rap groups can kind of give you nowadays. And kind of set that standard, like, wow, this is
and it also
palpable, but still kind of up to the imagination.
Yeah, like I think it also sets the standard of rap, really, or just music in general, not really being boring. Because I never met anyone that listened to Death Grips and they're just like, I'm bored.
That's for sure.
It's very wild in a sense of just it being uniquely it, and that's kind of like, I guess, could be the theme of today, just being very unique in a sense of just being its own kind of very weird mishmash of things and stuff. And that's what kind of makes Death Grips a very enjoyable experience, because you get to see like the different styles of songs within, heck, even the first 5 tracks. You go from Beware with just, I don't know, kind of how like abrasive, like oppressive that beat originally is. It almost feels like you're just straight screaming in the background as like MC Ride's just going bar after bar on that whole entire song. But then you switch it up, then you go Guillotine, wherever it's still a lot of like bass boosted and like a lot of distortion with it, but it's a bit slower and a bit more like audible with what he's saying in it. Wherever you kind of compare that to Beware, where it's more just like him literally just like going off, but almost being overshadowed by that beat.
Mm-hmm.
But
engulfed by it.
Yeah, and then you kind of go into like Spread Eagle Across the Block, which that sounds totally different with like the weird, almost country sounding guitar in the background, just being as like the main center focus as the song. And MC Ride like changing his inflection to kind of like play it up with the type stuff. So
yeah.
I mean, you mentioned the sampling. Watch on YouTube. There's a YouTube video of every sample featured on this album, or I guess mixtape, whatever you want to classify it as. And you watch that video and you'll quickly realize why this album was on Spotify and got taken off. Like, there's no way they had every sample clear on here. This is like the number of samples, the type of samples, the creativity of the samples. It's really impressive what they were able to do production wise throughout the album. Like a lot of the beats you mentioned on Beware, how the beats aggressive as much as MC Ride's voice. It's like the beats are yelling at you just as much as Stefan is. So
yeah, man, one of my favorite beats on here is Lord of the Game, and because production wise it sounds like someone's playing a weird game of pinball, but you just kind of got hijacked by like the likes of LP, a little bit of Daft Punk, and maybe a slight splash of like Sonic 2. You just hopped in the shit and is like, or maybe Sonic 3, you get Michael Jackson like on the fucking it's like what's going on with this production in the song. But it's so like the way Stefan rides the beat, and then with the help of Liz Lyles on it,
or Mexican
girl, which is so funny. I didn't know her name was Liz Lyles until like 2 hours ago.
That pretty much sums it up for me also.
Yeah, and it's so crazy to have such a weird sound that it's such a combination of things be brought to the forefront of your mind when you hear this. You hear just a single song like that, but it all makes sense. Like saying that to anyone else, you're gonna hear a song that sounds like Daft Punk playing Sonic playing a really dark game of Magic. It's like with the splash of Narcos, if you want to, just And it's like, just add that little cinematic flair to it. It's weird. If someone says that to you, like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, well, who even does that? Then you listen to the song, like, I can get it. I kind of get it. And songs like Tachyon is like
fire.
Yeah, I mean, even if you give a more generic, vague description, if you just say, hey, listen to this album that's it's by this rap group, but it also blends in screamo and electronic, people are going to say, well, those aren't genres that are supposed to mix. I'm not even going to listen to it. You're better off just sending them the song and say, hey, listen to this.
Yes, right.
Because you might like it.
Yeah, it's better. I feel like the people, it's funny because Tachyon is usually the song if someone asks me, like, oh, you want Tachyon or One Day I Need It, or like the songs that I'm like, oh, you want to listen to Death Grips? I'll play that. Probably. Like, you rock with that. Because people are like, oh, I actually like this. Who is this? Like, oh, it's Death Grips. Then I play them something weirder. It's like progressively weirder and weirder. It's like, oh.
You kind of have to like fool them at first.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I'll play you Clink, but then I'm going to play you Through the Walls right afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, Through the Walls. Another wild, super energetic, high beat, high production and high energy beat. And the song is old. And I think that's one thing to also commend MC Rod on during this project, not to ride his dick, is like how high energy he is throughout the whole thing. The man does not lose steam.
How does he do concerts? That's what I want to know.
Bruh, I've seen videos of them at concert and I was like, wow, bro, you said the beast, that's the beast you worship, and I see it coming out, because there ain't no way in hell. Is anyone else screaming like that or going as hard as you are for some of these songs for that long? You gotta.
Zach Hill has beat up so many drum sets, it's not even funny.
Yes. Yeah, shout out to Zach Hill, because and you gotta give the other, we talk about Stefan, but Zach Hill and Flatlander have done some amazing work on this.
Oh, yeah.
They carry, like, if without that, Stefan brings the energy, but the energy can only be matched from them. And it's like that synergy between them is uncanny.
Yeah.
It's uncanny. It's really commendable. But I think we've done talking about like the album as a whole, correct?
Yeah. I think we've emphasized it's out there.
Yeah,
it's out there and it's good. That's a good summary.
Yeah, that's it. And so now I guess put out there is our top 3 favorites. And I guess I'll start off with my top 3. Definitely gotta be Beware, Tachyon. Not actually. Beware, Lord of the Game, and I Want It, I Need It, because I can't not. The One It, I Need It, the lines on there are just so.
Can you just go ahead and say the lyric from that song? If you want to.
Responsibility is cool, but there's better things in life, like getting your dick rode all fucking night.
There it is.
Yes, sir. Is it for a song with 6 verses? It's lengthier in sound than some of the other Death Grips works, but bro, this song.
The beat is so freaking fire.
The beat's ridiculous. The lyrics are wild. It's raunchier than I guess some of the other stuff they've done.
Yeah.
But especially on this project. But it's honestly it's a little more controlled in a way than some of the other songs and production wise too. The beat's ridiculous, but still relatively compared to like a Through the Walls or like a Blood Creeping or a Creep. Or even the Clink is kind of like, well, not even Clink.
It's not like Lord of the Game, I guess.
Yeah. It's like, it's not as ridiculous, but it's really memorable, really quotable, really stood out to me to this day. Yeah, I love it. Tachyon. It's Tachyon, bitch. It's like
That's your number 3?
Yeah, Tachyon.
Okay.
Is there, and just like I just go listen to that song, please. the fact that for a long time I didn't know exactly what the hook was. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I'm not gonna flex. I'd be like, oh yeah, I always knew. But the references and it also kind of made me realize the Stefan's lyrical capability, and it gave me more respect on it because it's kind of dense, and it's kind of like some of the references and some of the and how he builds up these schemes so much, almost like a battle rapper. It's interesting to hear that on something like this, but I definitely give it props, man. And Beware, I am the beast I worship. That's it.
Yeah, I had Beware also. I had two overlap. I had Beware and Tachyon. Tachyon is probably just the best example of screamo rap that I could think of, because it's definitely like a very normal rap song, I guess, as far as like lyrics and flow, but then you add in the fact that he's screaming on the top of his lungs. And like you said, that's usually the one that I hear people say like, oh, I'm starting to like Death Grips a little bit more now, is when they hear that one. Beware is probably my favorite Death Grip song of all time. So that was obviously a no-brainer for me to pick it if it's my favorite, but I love, it starts with the Charles Manson quote, and then like the beat just explodes in, and then he's rapping just these like biblical, prolific, evil, satanic, monstrous things, and it's not silly at all either. Like he's not saying anything dumb. Like lyrically, it's one of my favorite songs from MC Ride lyrically, not just on the album but from all of Death Grips. And then just with the way the beat captures the feeling of the song, with just how it just explodes at you throughout the song. Yeah, easy pick for me.
It sounds like the apocalypse.
Like, yeah, it's a good
it sounds
Revelation or something.
Yeah, which is very interesting. And honestly, one thing I listened to 30, like, talk about the trumpets and whatnot,
yeah,
and then let it flow right into Beware. It's a very interesting vibe to have to start your day.
I like it. And then my third pick was Clink. Clink is an interesting Death Grip song just because it's about police brutality. And I don't know, something about Death Grips doesn't scream like we're going to be rapping about police brutality, but here they are and they're doing it. And they pull it off pretty well. It's another song where the beat's insane with the Black Flag sample, and I love when the second verse starts with like the record scratches after he says like 6 feet do below the street. Yeah. And then of course MC Ride, the loop of him going, oh, woo, just throughout, like, and it starts immediately, like you had the record scratch at the beginning, and then once again the beat just punches you in the face, and he's just screaming, and you're like, damn, like it just fires you up. And then listening to the lyrics, like he could be rapping about anything, I'd be getting pumped up, but instead he's talking about how much he hates authority, and you're like, all right, I'm even more pumped up than I was. So yeah, that was a pretty easy choice for me as well for a third pick.
All right. I think, but just kind of piggybacking off of what Michael said, I think my top three would definitely have to be Clink, Tachyon, and then Numb For It, naturally.
Oh, I like Numb For It.
Numb For It, I mostly just said that because of the beat is ridiculous, but it kind of showed like a little bit of a glimpse into the future of like their type of more, I don't really want to say like techie, but just like a little bit more glitchy type beats that they kind of like started to foster in with like No Love Deep Web.
It's almost like glitch pop, but it's like glitch pop is on a cursed, like, it's like a glitch pop got hacked, and then now we're like in the fucked up version of Tron that like never got made.
Exactly. It sounds like you're kind of just like, it sounds like you're almost trying to like break the game or something like that. I just from like a speedrun perspective, right? Like,
yeah.
But like, it just sounds like you're physically kind of like pushing the limits of whatever you're trying to like push technologically, and that's one of the main reasons why I really like Known For It, because it just sounds very, very just weird in a way, and I think I just had that like go-to pleasure for that type of weird sounds. That's why I kind of like, as much as I love Exmilitary, I often just like in Death Grips like discography, that's actually one of my least favorite albums from them, because I kind of like their later stuff with like You're a Snitch and then Powers That Be, other stuff like that. But I thought that was a really cool glimpse into the future of what they can do, sense to offer. So because there's less this one's not as like verse heavy as like the next song that comes right after it, I Want It, I Need It, or Defeated. So I thought it was a kind of a cool switch up, that kind of glimpse to the future. But Clink, yeah, you kind of said it the best, Michael. I thought that the beat with like the record scratch at first was a really, really cool type of switch up, because it kind of brought it back to, I don't know, just older days of just kind of that boom bap type hip hop. And I thought that was a cool little just like reference to that, because you also have the more newer sound which the entire album brings, but then you have this really weird just like song in the middle with just like the record scratching to start it off, and then just going from there, which I thought that was pretty cool. And then Tachyon, that's one of my favorites, because personally I just listen to it so much. But I think one of the things that really made it interesting to me was the video actually for it. So within the video, for people that haven't seen it, and I really do recommend watching it, really weird visual experience, but it's set up in black and white, and MC Ride is practically just rapping, and he took the camera's perspective is like a front-on view of it, but what he did was he spliced the video down the middle, and then he just mirrored it on both sides. So then it kind of looks like MC Ride, even though there's only one of them, or like one video feed of him, wherever he's moving to the left or right, it kind of looks like that it's blending into one another, which makes this really cool type of like double helix type perspective of things. It almost kind of confuses your eyes.
Double helix.
Yeah, it's like was that the conceptualization of the song Double Helix?
Who knows? But I thought that was I thought it was a really cool like visual perspective with the already really, really good song. So yeah, and also just a shout out to, I'd definitely say Blood Creeping was an underrated song, even though it wasn't as strong as some other ending songs like Disappointed from Year of the Snitch, or I'm trying to remember the song from the end of Jenny Death. I think it was Death Grips 2.0 stuff. Like
Hacker.
Yeah, or Hacker, really. Like any of those songs, even though they're very, very good ending songs, I think that Blood Creeping was kind of the first premise into like that really weird type of just feeling that you get after you finish the Death Grips album, which is like, what the hell
Yeah, exactly.
did I just listen to? So yeah, I think that overall though, Exmilitary is one of my favorite albums of all time, so I was just really happy just even talk about it. So.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that, of course, the list is a collaboration of me and Kyle's list. The fact that it made it to the top 10, that goes to show that Kyle and I love it too. And we knew you loved it, so we're like, we got to get Corey on talking about it too. Yeah, man, I love this album too. I just love that it's probably the most hip hop
most traditional.
Yeah,
closest
I
thing
don't
to
know how else to
tradition.
phrase it.
Yeah, it's like most, I guess, closest thing to traditional hip hop that we will probably get from Death Grips as a project. Yeah, as a whole project.
Yeah,
because you see glimpses of it, and like
for sure.
And like nowadays, because on the like steroids mix, there's like little glimpses of it, but.
Also, I love that we all have Tachyon in our top 3.
Yes, it's kind of like a universal. Like, yeah, we got to throw that in.
So listen to Tachyon if you haven't heard it.
Yeah, man. It's like
don't have Guillotine be your introduction, I guess, like it was for us.
Yeah, please don't. Like, don't do Guillotine as your introduction. But yeah, man. I guess that wraps up our episode 40 Ounce Hip Hop. I hope y'all finish your drinks. Hope y'all have found your shorties or your homies. We support all sexual orientations around here. So hope y'all enjoy yourselves, and peace out of here. Get the fuck out, have a good night, and see y'all next week. Y'all better tune in. It's gonna get even better from here.
Peace.